When tragedy suddenly struck, unfolding in a whirlwind of unpredictable events, a wild Palace's cat found herself in a position of utter helplessness. She was unable to protect her cub from the looming threat, and in that moment, everything around her seemed to crumble. But imagine this. At the most critical moment, an unexpected savior appeared. What happened next will leave no one indifferent, especially those who love nature and dramatic stories. In the forest, where an ominous silence had fallen, a strange, muffled sound echoed, like a suppressed cry from the depths of the overgrown thicket. A moan of anxiety and fear, unlike anything else, disturbed the nocturnal stillness. Gleb, interrupting his usual patrol, straightened up abruptly and listened intently. The sound seemed to emanate from an ancient, gnarled tree, situated at the very edge of the marshlands. With each passing moment, the cry grew more strained and desperate, as if someone were calling for help, losing their last strength. Overcome with unease and an overwhelming curiosity, Gleb decided to leave his gear behind to immediately investigate who was in danger. His heart skipped a beat, then began to race, intertwining fear and resolve into a single, powerful impulse. He moved towards the sound, pushing through the dense foliage. The closer Gleb got, the clearer the piercing calls became. Finally, the undergrowth thinned, and beyond a narrow strip of trees, a small clearing opened up, completely flooded with water. There, amidst the cold waves, a young Palace's cat kitten was desperately fighting for its life, barely staying afloat. Its huge, terror-filled eyes spoke of mortal fear. With each desperate paddle of its paws, it grew visibly weaker. Gleb froze in bewilderment. It was a manul, an animal renowned for its caution and swimming ability. The thought that the mother cat had abandoned her cub pierced Gleb's mind like an icy question. Why wasn't she rushing to help? Scanning his surroundings carefully, Gleb noticed a metallic glint in the shadows. Peering closer, he made out the mother manul. Her paw was trapped in a poacher's snare, its chain clamped mercilessly onto the tree bark. The eyes of the unfortunate creature, filled with pain and terror, seemed to beg for mercy. The cat thrashed wildly, trying to free herself, but the trap held her in its relentless grip. Gleb's heart constricted with compassion. He understood that the kitten's life hung by a thread, and there was no help to be expected from anywhere else. Without hesitation, the man approached the water's edge. Removing his boots and rolling up his sleeves, he bravely stepped into the icy sludge that chilled him to the bone. His breathing became ragged, but he moved purposefully forward, his eyes fixed on the drowning kitten. Reaching a sufficiently close distance, Gleb extended his hand and spoke, trying to sound as calm as possible. "Don't be afraid, little one. I'm here." The man's voice, filled with empathy, made the terrified manul kitten still for a moment. When Gleb could reach it, he gently scooped up the trembling, wet creature and carefully made his way back to the shore. There, on solid ground, Gleb held the small captive close, trying to warm it with his own body heat. But he knew leaving the mother cat, still chained to the tree, was unthinkable. Approaching the suffering animal, Gleb examined the iron links of the chain, searching for even the slightest chance to free the unfortunate manul without causing her further pain. Just then, the crunch of snow and quiet, ominous voices drifted from the dark depths of the forest. Gleb's heart clenched into a knot. The poachers were returning. The situation was becoming more than dangerous. He had to act immediately. He quickly hid the kitten in the dense bushes, carefully checking that the branches reliably concealed the little one. After that, Gleb retreated a few steps, took cover to the side, and began to observe, holding his breath, remaining in the twilight shadow. From his hiding place, he distinguished the figures of two men emerging from behind the trees. Their tattered, stained clothing spoke of a rough life, and on their shoulders hung chains, traps, and rifles, all seeming like grim symbols of illegal hunting. Their muffled laughter and careless talk betrayed their confidence that there were no prying eyes around. When the poachers approached the tree where the manul was still suffering, Gleb began to make out some phrases. "Check this manul first," one of them commanded, pointing at the unfortunate animal. "The pelt of this creature is worth decent money." Gleb's bewilderment turned to anger. He felt rage rising within him. However, the man understood. A rash attack could cost the lives of both him and the tormented cat. He needed to act cautiously. The Manul, as if sensing trouble, pulled at the chain harder at the sight of the man and let out a low growl. One of the poachers, taking out a bunch of keys, decided to check the trap. It was then that an idea came to Gleb's mind: to use their own equipment against them. To distract the enemies, he picked up a small pebble and threw it towards the nearest dense bush. The rustling sound instantly made the man turn around. "Did you hear that?" One whispered sharply, cautiously, looking towards the noise. "Let's go check it out," the other replied, raising his rifle. While the curious poachers were clambering into the thicket, Gleb didn't miss his chance. He quickly slipped to their abandoned gear and, among the weapons and chains, found a heavy wrench. Time was of the essence. He needed to save the Manul before they returned. But just seconds later, Gleb heard approaching footsteps and realized the situation was heating up. Gathering all his courage, he stepped out from behind the trees, clutching the wrench in his hand, and confidently stated, "Leave. You have no business here." The poacher's leader looked at him with a mocking smirk. "You seriously think you can scare us? This is our territory, and the Manul is ours too." Without flinching, Gleb stood between the cat and the armed man, determination blazing in his eyes. "I won't let you take her." Taking a step forward, he loudly added, "You are not alone here. Ranger patrols regularly pass through this area. Do you think you'll manage to avoid meeting them?" Gleb's words about rangers made the poachers exchange glances. Their confidence had vanished without a trace. Finally, one of them muttered through his teeth, "It's not worth the risk." Casting one last look at Gleb, the man disappeared into the thicket. Only then did he allow the tension to release and rushed to the immobilized Manul. Trying not to frighten her further, he carefully unfastened the chain. The animal felt freedom instantly. The cat quietly growled and, turning around, darted towards the bushes, emitting a calling sound. The kitten responded to this call, instantly emerging from its hiding place. It joyfully rushed to its mother, and their touching reunion was filled with gentle touches and soft purring. Gleb watched with deep relief and wondered if he would ever see these enigmatic creatures again. Not even a few months passed before fate smiled on him a second time. A foggy morning slowly enveloped the forest in a thin haze when Gleb, performing another patrol, cautiously made his way along forest paths. Through the diffused light, he suddenly noticed a faint wisp of smoke rising to the heavens, like a signal of danger. Dropping to his haunches and using the dense canopy of trees as cover, Gleb approached the source of the smoke. The conversations coming from that direction were barely audible. However, crawling closer, he discerned three men sitting around a campfire. Their harsh voices, rough appearance, and the traps and nets scattered around left no doubt as to who they were. Hunting rifles leaning against a tree trunk seemed to confirm the grim suspicion. Unarmed, Gleb quickly realized that he shouldn't engage in open confrontation. It would be much safer to retreat and return with backup. But fate decreed otherwise. When he tried to retreat silently, a broken twig betrayed his presence with a quiet crack. The poachers, instantly alerted, grabbed their weapons and rushed to where he was hiding. The thick fog, preventing everyone from seeing anything beyond arm's length, played on Gleb's side at that moment, concealing his escape. For several minutes the man ran, sparing no effort, barely dodging branches and roots until he felt his breath almost give out. But the relief was short-lived. Someone caught up with him and with a furious jerk pressed him against a tree. Gleb saw the face of the gang leader and a predatory smirk on it. "Thought you could spy on us and just walk away," he snarled. Malicious accusations multiplied. The poachers didn't hide their rage. Gleb had been hindering them from getting to their prey for a long time, disabling traps and warning patrols about suspicious locations. They tied his hands with rope, after which a sinister phrase sounded, "You've been putting a spoke in our wheels for too long. It's time to put an end to this once and for all." They dragged him away from paths and any signs of civilization, forcing him to stumble over snags and roots. Each step was taken with horror and pain, and only one thought pounded in Gleb's mind: how to get out and stay alive. When they reached a secluded, silent clearing, the leader ominously said, "This is enough. No one will be able to find him here. Gleb braced himself for the worst, looking into the faces of his tormentors. But suddenly, a rustle sounded in the nearby thickets. The bandits turned away, and at that very moment, a formidable cat appeared from the dense tangle of branches. This Manul remembered Gleb because he had once come to the rescue of her and her cub. Her piercing gaze was fixed on those who were causing harm. Letting out a loud roar, she rushed forward, sinking her claws into the poachers with the ferocity of a wild beast defending its territory and its friend. Taken aback, the bandits recoiled, releasing Gleb. Taking advantage of his sudden rescue, he tried to untie the ropes, but the knots were too tight. Sensing this, the brave cat approached, sniffed the bonds, and with her sharp teeth began to bite through them. A few more seconds, and Gleb was finally free. He stood up, looking around, trying to understand if they were still threatened by a new attack. The poachers were already running away, unwilling to risk their lives. And then Gleb turned to the Manul, who looked intently into his eyes. "Thank you," he said hoarsely, realizing that without her he would not have gotten out. The animal lowered its head, as if acknowledging his words, and then silently disappeared into the depths of the forest. In this brief encounter, both felt a special connection, arising between man and wild nature, when there is mutual trust and a desire to protect each other. That night, Gleb understood how strong the gratitude of the wild inhabitants of the forest can be if you manage to show them compassion. Days passed, and he increasingly glanced towards those dark thickets where he had once seen the palace's cat. Thoughts of her awakened warm memories in him, and his heart filled with quiet joy. After all, any kindness shown sooner or later returns as kindness. Dear viewers, what do you think about this thrilling story? Be sure to share your opinions in the comments. If you enjoyed these twists and turns of rescue and bravery, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, and remember, to treat nature with care is to preserve the priceless miracle of life.